Hi, and welcome to the Caterpillar Cross Stitch YouTube channel. My name's Ford from Son of a Stitch, and this week I'm going to teach you a couple of ways to grid fabric and a couple of ways not to. Here at Caterpillar Cross Stitch we are all about cross stitch, and we upload helpful and occasionally entertaining videos about it every single week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our future videos, and if you like this video, give it a like and leave me a comment down below so I know I should make more content like it. Also, if there's something you'd like to see me address on the channel or a question you'd like me to answer, leave that in the comments as well and I'll see what I can do. Now, gridding is a really excellent technique that makes it a lot easier to count and avoid making mistakes, but I've seen a few tragedies happen, so I'm going to teach you the method that I like to use for gridding, and then I'll teach you a few ways that I've seen people mess up their projects by doing it wrong. But before I go too far, I want to remind you to join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch VIP Stitch Club. When you join, you'll get 10% off your first order, you'll get an ebook with 8 free cross stitch patterns in it, and you'll get a digital download of our top 10 cross stitching tips. So make sure you click the link down there in the description so that you don't miss any of those great perks. Now, the first and most important thing when you're going to grid your project is to have the correct tools. What I use are dressmaker's pencils or water-soluble pencils. I'll put a link in the description where you can get these, but you can also just get them at your local craft store or fabric store. They usually come in a pair, a blue one for light colored fabric and a white one for dark colored fabric. So where you start when you're going to grid will depend on the fabric that you're using. If you're planning to use a small piece of a larger piece of fabric, then you'll probably want to start in a corner. And if you've already cut your fabric to the appropriate size, then you'll probably want to start in the center. And how you start your counting will depend on which one of those you're going to do. So let's start with the easy one, and that's starting from a corner. What you'll want to do is you want to measure your starting point from the edge of the fabric. Now, it feels like a lot when you're looking at it, but I always recommend using 3 extra inches of fabric if you have the fabric available for it. So just grab your little ruler and mark yourself off 3 inches from each edge in the corner you're going to start in, with a little kind of V shape like this to tell us that it's the corner. And that marking right there corresponds to this position right there. So then from there, you just count out the 10 that matches the grid on the pattern. And any good quality pattern will have markings in either 5 or 10, or sometimes both. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So because I'm counting along an edge here, I'm going to make a little T-shaped marking to tell me that that mark corresponds to this position on the pattern. I'll do those all around the outside edge. I want to take just a second here to tell you about something exciting, and that is the Caterpillar Stitch Retreat 2024. It's happening in June. It's held at a luxurious 4-star hotel in downtown Birmingham, UK, easily accessible by any form of transportation that you might use to get there. There's a payment plan to help you split the payments up to make it a little more affordable, and if you're afraid of going alone, don't worry about it because almost everybody is going by themselves. So it makes it a really excellent opportunity to make new friends within the stitching community. And I've talked a lot about the value of the Caterpillar Cross Stitch community. Tens of thousands of stitchers with hundreds of thousands of years of experience. Really, really excellent resource for whether you're brand new into the project or just wanting to refine your techniques. Strongly recommend joining. Now, I have trouble because of my astigmatism keeping things straight. So I have a little hack here that will save you a ton of time when you're doing counting, and that's get yourself a pair of calipers. I originally learned how to use these for woodworking and other crafting, but I find them immensely useful when doing cross stitching. So what you can do there is you can just measure out the distance that that 10 makes, and you can see that I've already done that. And then for all of the rest of your counts, you can just put one of the little tines of the calipers into the hole of the last marking, and then it'll make it easy to mark out that 10. So then we can just move our way along there. And then after we're done, these markings will just wash right out easily. That's what this pencil is designed for. Now, one small caveat there, if using calipers to count, is that a lot of fabrics, even good quality ones, will have a slightly different thread density in the warp versus the weft, the vertical versus the horizontal lines. So make sure when you go to do your second count in the other direction, that you reposition your calipers. These ones are actually really, really close, so I don't need to reposition that. But then I'm just going to go along and I'm going to make little T-shaped marks on the edges and little plus-shaped marks in the middle of all of those 10 positions. So this gives me an absolute frame of reference when I'm stitching, that I can just count from, like if I want to stitch here, I can just count one away from there instead of having to count the 15 over from the corner or whatever. And that makes it easier to move around and jump around the pattern, and makes it easier to have something to check against to make sure that you haven't miscounted something. It's really, really nice. Now, if our fabric is already cut to the size of our project, then we're going to want to start from the middle. So what we'll do there is we'll find the middle of our fabric by just folding it in half one way, folding it in half the other way, give it a little bit of pinch, and that will mark that spot. So then I can take my light colored one, since I've got dark colored fabric here, and I can mark that center position. And then I can either count by hand or I can use the calipers again. But since that's the center position, I'm going to want to make my actual counting marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over, and 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So I'm going to count from that starting position that I gave myself. 5. So this is actually going to be my marking point. So I'll have the center, which will be a handy frame of reference as well later, but then I'm going to count out from there to make all of my other 10 by 10 grid marks. I also want to recommend to you that you join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Facebook group and follow the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Instagram. There's a really, really amazing community of supportive stitchers around it with tons and tons of experience. Whether you want to share your knowledge or whether you're hoping to learn from other people with more experience, it's a really, really excellent space and just a really supportive environment. So I highly recommend going and getting involved with both of those. Now onto the ways that I would not recommend gridding your fabric. I see people sometimes use stitching instead of drawn lines to grid out their fabric, and that can work really great if you use a monofilament. So that's either a blending filament like you can get, or a piece of something similar to fishing line that is a solid fiber, one fiber. If you use embroidery floss or sewing thread or something like that, its fibers will get tangled up with the fibers of your stitches and it will become impossible to remove. So don't just use embroidery floss to grid your fabric with stitches. You will have a hard time getting it out. But I have used monofilament line for gridding in the past with great success. I just found that the dressmaking pencils were easier. The other thing that I've seen people do that has caused them a lot of heartache is to grid with a pencil, a regular pencil. They reasoned that you can easily remove it from paper and that therefore it should be easily removable from fabric, and they couldn't be more wrong. The tiny microscopic molecules of graphite, which is what pencil leads are made from, is extremely slippery material, and it gets down deep into the fabric of your project, and it will never come out, and you'll be able to see it. So I highly recommend not using pencils. The other thing that I have seen people use, and every time I see someone recommending it, I scream from the rafters that you shouldn't do it, is one of these. It's a friction pen. They're made by Pilot. These are erasable pens, and they work really great on paper. Like, you can draw on paper with them, and then you just use the little thing on the other end to erase them, and the line goes away. But here's the thing. That ink is still there. It's not gone. Erasing it, the friction of that's why it's called a friction pen, generates heat, and that makes the ink go clear. But it's still actually a little bit milky white. So on dark colored fabric, it will just be visible. You'll still be able to see it. On light colored fabric, you probably won't be able to see it as much, but it will leave a little bit of a sheen, and the texture of the surface of the fabric will be a little bit different. Plus, this ink actually loses its ability to change color over time. So after a few years, you'll actually see those grid lines start to reappear, and they won't be removable again. Plus, if the project ever gets really cold, ink lines will just immediately reappear. So while it seems like a good idea and you will see people online recommending them, I caution against using these friction pens, and so does Pilot. They say not to use these on fabric, and I agree with them because I have seen projects that were done with these a few years ago, and those lines just reappeared faintly on the project, and there's nothing that can be done about it. So don't use those, please. So I've told you my favorite way to grid, and I've told you the worst ways to grid that I've seen people doing and recommending online. Is there something different that you do, or you have a question that I didn't answer? Hit the comments down below and let's talk about it. But barring that, I do want to thank you so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, my name is Ford, and I will see you next time.
Hi, have you heard about Love It Stitch It yet? You can design and shop the cross stitch patterns you've always wanted. Love It Stitch It is an easy to use design tool and exclusive cross stitch marketplace, giving you the freedom to create, sell and shop all in one place. You can design anything that you like, add text, upload and convert pictures and artwork. You can design the cross stitch patterns of your dream. You can download them for personal use, or you can upload them onto the marketplace, designed by cross stitchers for cross stitchers, jam-packed with some gorgeous cross stitch patterns from designers all over the world. If you're not interested in designing or selling, that's totally fine too. Just visit the marketplace and you can shop from hundreds of beautiful cross stitch patterns so you can pick your next project. Are you already a cross stitch designer, but maybe you're fed up of other marketplaces, maybe not getting the sales that you deserve, maybe not getting your patterns seen as much as you'd like? Then let us help. You can easily register for free and get uploading your PDF patterns with absolutely no fees whatsoever. Let us then market your gorgeous designs that you've put all of your work into to over 185,000 dedicated cross stitchers from all over the world. We will absolutely do our best to get your patterns seen and into the right hands of people that we know will absolutely love stitching them. As a designer, you can easily list your PDF patterns for sale, no matter which software you use to design them. Our job is to make cross-stitch design accessible to all. There's nothing to upgrade, there's nothing to download. It's really easy to use and beginner friendly. We also wanted to create the marketplace to bring sellers and buyers together so that it's really easy and such an enjoyable experience to shop all of the high quality verified designs on the platform, but also to give those amazing designers a place to really showcase their creativity. So visit loveitstitchit.com today and register for free. Stitch what you love and free your creativity.